Come to the statement, Secretary of State, Liz Kendall.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a statement on the investigation by the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman into the way changes in the state pension age were communicated to women born in the 1950s. Mr. Speaker, the state pension is the foundation for a secure retirement. It's why this government is committed to the pensions triple lock, which will increase the new state pension by more than £470 a year from this April and deliver an additional £31 billion of spending over the course of this Parliament. And it's why governments of all colours have a responsibility to ensure changes to the state pension age are properly communicated so people can plan for their retirement. Before I turn to the government's response to the Ombudsman's report, I want to be clear about what this report investigated and what it did not. The report is not an investigation into the actual decision to increase the state pension age for women in 1995, or indeed to accelerate that increase in 2011, a decision which the then Conservative Chancellor George Osborne said, and I quote, "probably saved more money than anything else we've done," a comment that understandably angered many women and sparked the original Waspi campaign. The Ombudsman is clear that policy decisions to increase the state pension age in 1995 and since were taken by Parliament and considered lawful by the courts. What this investigation is about is how changes in the state pension age were communicated by the Department for Work and Pensions and the impact this may have had on the ability of women born in the 1950s to plan for their retirement. I know this is an issue of huge concern to many women, which has spanned multiple parliaments. Like so many other problems that we have inherited from the party opposite, this is something which the previous government should have dealt with. Instead, they kicked the can down the road and left us to pick up the pieces. But today, we deal with it head on. My honourable friend, the Pensions Minister, and I have given the Ombudsman's report serious consideration and looked in detail at the findings and at information and advice provided by the Department which was not available to us before coming into government. The Ombudsman looked at 6 cases. He found that the Department provided adequate and accurate information on changes to the state pension age between 1995 and 2004, including through leaflets, pensions education campaigns, and on its website. However, decisions made between 2005 and 2007 led to a 28-month delay in sending out letters to women born in the 1950s. The Ombudsman says these delays did not result in the women suffering direct financial loss, but they were maladministration. We accept that the 28-month delay in sending out letters was maladministration, and on behalf of the government, I apologise. This government is determined to learn all the lessons from what went wrong, and I'll say more about this in a moment. We also agree that the women suffered no direct financial loss because of the maladministration. However, we do not agree with the Ombudsman's approach to injustice or remedy, and I want to spell out why. First, the report doesn't properly take into account research showing that there was actually considerable awareness that the state pension age was increasing. It references research from 2004 showing 43% of women aged over 16 were aware of their state pension age. But it doesn't sufficiently recognise evidence from the same research that 73% of women aged 45 to 54 were aware that the state pension age was increasing, the very group that covers women born in the 1950s. Or research from 2006 that 90% of women aged 45 to 54 were aware that the state pension age was increasing. Second, the report says if letters had been sent out earlier, it would have affected what women knew about the state pension age. However, we do not agree that sending letters earlier would have had the impact that the Ombudsman says. Research given to the Ombudsman shows only around a quarter of people who are sent unsolicited letters actually remember receiving them or reading them. So we cannot accept that in the great majority of cases, sending a letter earlier would have affected whether women knew their state pension age was rising or would have increased their opportunities to make informed decisions. These two facts, that most women knew the state pension age was increasing and that letters aren't as significant as the Ombudsman says, as well as other reasons, have informed our conclusion that there should be no scheme of financial compensation to 1950s-born women in response to the Ombudsman's report. The Ombudsman says that as a matter of principle, redress and compensation should normally reflect individual impact. However, the report itself acknowledges that assessing the individual circumstances of 3.5 million women born in the 1950s would have a significant cost and administrative burden. It's taken the Ombudsman nearly 6 years to investigate the circumstances of 6 sample complaints. For the DWP to set up a scheme and invite 3.5 million women to set out their detailed personal circumstances would take thousands of staff years to process. Even if there was a scheme where women could self-certify that they weren't aware of changes to their state pension age and that they've suffered as a result, it would be impossible to verify the information provided. So the alternative put forward in the report is for a flat rate compensation scheme at level 4 of the Ombudsman's scale of injustice. This would provide £1,000 to £2,950 per person at a total cost of between £3.5 and £10.5 billion. Given the vast majority of women knew the state pension age was increasing, the government does not believe paying a flat rate to all women at a cost of up to £10.5 billion would be a fair or proportionate use of taxpayers' money, not least when the previous government failed to set aside a single penny for any compensation scheme, and when they left us a £22 billion black hole in the public finances. Mr. Speaker, this has been an extremely difficult decision to take, but we believe it is the right course of action, and we are determined to learn all the lessons to ensure this type of maladministration never happens again. First, we want to work with the Ombudsman to develop a detailed action plan out of the report so every and all lessons are learned. Second, we are committed to setting clear and sufficient notice of any changes in the state pension age so people can properly plan for their retirement. And third, I have tasked officials to develop a strategy for effective, timely and modern communication on the state pension that uses the most up-to-date methods, building on changes that have already been made, like the online Check Your State Pension service, which gives a personal forecast of your state pension, including when you can take it, because one size rarely fits all. Mr. Speaker, as I have said, we haven't taken this decision lightly, but we believe it is the right decision because the great majority of women knew the state pension age was increasing, sending letters earlier wouldn't have made a difference for most, and the proposed compensation scheme isn't fair or value for taxpayers' money. I know there are women born in the 1950s who want and deserve a better life. They have worked hard in paid jobs and in bringing up their families. Many are struggling financially with the cost of living and fewer savings to fall back on, and they worry about their health and how their children and grandchildren will get on. To those women I say, this government will protect the pensions triple lock, so your state pension will increase by up to £1,900 a year by the end of this Parliament. We'll drive down waiting lists so you get the treatment you need with an extra £22 billion of funding for the NHS this year and next, and we'll deliver the jobs, homes and opportunities your families need to build a better life. I know that on this specific decision, many 1950s-born women will be disappointed, but we believe it is the right decision and the fair decision, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shall the Secretary of State, Helen Whately?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank the Right Honourable Lady for advance sight of her statement. And I would also like to start by thanking the Ombudsman and his team again for their work on this important matter. In March this year, the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman published its final report into the way that changes to the state pension age were communicated to women born in the 1950s. The report took over 5 years to produce and reflects the complexity of the issue. It spans a 30-year period across different governments, dating back to Parliament's decision in 1995 for the state pension age for men and women to be equalised in a long overdue move towards